Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Shaman King 2021 episode 5. So, with last time's episode, I wanted to go and do a little research, check how things went in the original, and I realized there's a lot more filler in the original than I remembered, which makes sense, but it's been a long time. But at the same time, it's like I looked up, like, I think last episode, episode 4, was in the original the equivalent of episode 8 or something like that. Maybe even 9 or 10. It was something like that. And things were moved around and switched around a little bit. For one example, I believe that Wooden Sword Ryu was, like, had befriended Yo and them prior to the Togegero incident. The way Ryu met Togegero was different, which is really interesting, and it tells me that I did at least read some of the manga. Because I remember the entire thing where he comes in as a skeleton and everything, but I guess in the original anime, he was a lizard on the wall of the bathroom in the bowling alley. Which I mean fits with his motif and all, but it wasn't quite as freaky. But I remembered the skeleton thing, and that, so it must have been in the manga. Um, and it seemed like June came in a lot later. So I had been saying, like, I thought June came in a little later, like after more happened, and it seemed like that was the case. So from what I can tell, this does apparently seem to be following the manga more, which makes sense, while the original anime actually deviated a bit. It told the same kind of things that were going on, but it also had a lot of filler in there. It had a lot of characters introduced in, I guess, the wrong order, you could say. Things introduced in the wrong order. And it's like, it's really interesting to see how the two stack up. Um, but I do like that they still brought back a lot of the original voice actors, like Wataru Takagi as Tokugero. Like I checked out some of his lines in the original, and yeah, he's definitely improved. And then again, it's been like 20 years, so that makes sense. He's definitely improved. Um, but it's kind of the same way that Chris Sabat for English dubs has improved since he voiced Kuwabara in Yu Yu Hakusho. It's like you look back on Yu Yu Hakusho and listen to Kuwabara's voice, and it's like you won't even be able to tell that's Chris Sabat because his voice has changed quite a bit in all those years, as well as he's just gotten much better. um, but yeah, it's really interesting that all of this has happened. Um, so I must have read a little bit of the manga, which isn't too surprising. It was probably in Shonen Jump because I definitely did read Shonen Jump. Um, so I probably read it either in Shonen Jump or when I was younger and like going to like middle school and high school, the libraries there you had manga at the schools, and so I would often like rent those out. Um, yeah, I used to read manga actually quite a bit between Shonen Jump and all those. Um, Still never really did much for me even back then, but it was interesting. It was something different, and I wanted to kind of get in on that. I always like the anime adaptations better, though, of any manga I've ever read. But I must have read it at some point. I don't remember when. um, because again the Tokugero thing especially, I very much remember. There are other characters who seem to be introduced prior to Tokugero and everything in the original series too, and it's like, okay, interesting. So I'm wondering how much this reboot's going to deviate from that, and how different it's going to be. It's already felt very fresh, very new in a way. Like I definitely remember certain beats, like certain story beats, certain elements and everything, but the thing as a whole, it still feels fresh. And I've always chalked that up to, oh, it's been just so long since I've seen the original anime, but apparently it's also because the original anime didn't follow the manga as closely as you would have thought. Even at the beginning, there was just a lot of filler. But again, the main story beats are pretty much the same, with a few differences here and there. So, seeing as we do have Tokigero here now, and the last episode kind of ended with the strong implication that he's going to befriend Wooden Sword Ryu, um, what's next? Well, there's still a number of characters we have not seen yet. Um, One character I'm not sure on his like his name, if it's the same in the Japanese, because it sounds like a very Americanized name, and a lot of anime did that kind of thing. Like they even did it with One Piece, with the 4 Kids dub calling Zoro Zolo and whatnot. So there's this character in the original series called Trey, and I don't either remember or know if that was his name in like the Japanese or whatnot. Because I say remember because he might have been in the manga, and apparently I've read a little bit of the manga. Well, I mean, I'm sure he was in the manga, but and I know he's in the opening for this series, so I'm just wondering, like, is that his name? He's kind of, I believe he was kind of like a snowboarder dude, and used that with his shaman powers. There's also Lyserg, who I've mentioned before. I think his name is Chocolove McDonald or something like that. Um, but they come in later on. There's also this kind of mentor figure who I believe who's shown in this opening as well. This Native American mentor figure to Yo, and I assume he's going to be in, but I do not, for the life of me, remember when he comes in. Faust comes in earlier than that, I believe. And again, Faust is definitely the one I'm looking forward to the most. There's a lot of characters that we're going to have to look out for now. I'm definitely going to be interested to see where this all goes, and how things are originally supposed to be paced and set. So, we're just going to get into this and find out. When the screen faces black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So that little bumper at the end answered the big questions I was having. So apparently Trey is called Horo Horo in this series, which sounds really familiar. So I think I kind of knew that, probably from the manga, I guess. But so that's apparently coming next. But let's talk about this episode. So in this one, we have a couple major things brought into play. The first is Silva. So Silva is a character I very much remember from the original series. I remember him kind of mentoring Yo a bit, teaching him the further stages of his shaman abilities and whatnot, which is what we kind of saw here as well. I don't know if he comes back and does more in the original story, but I think he did in the original anime. But we see here that Silva is a member of the tribe who are basically the selection committee for the Shaman fight, which is the second big thing introduced in this episode. The Shaman fight is a big, basically, tournament where shamans compete to become the Shaman King. It's not like your typical tournament arc, from what I remember. It's more along the lines of it's more along the lines of just this overall competition, this overall determining battle to figure out who's going to be the Shaman King. It's not so much like your typical tournament arc you'd see in the likes of My Hero Academia season 2 or Yu Yu Hakusho's Dark Tournament or any tournament in Dragon Ball Z. It's not that kind of tournament, really. Um, it definitely stands out. And again, going from what I remember, the fights are a lot differently handled. um, but Silva here has come to basically check and make sure if Yo is ready for the shaman fight and can compete in it. He's testing him to see if he qualifies, basically. In doing so, he shows off his multiple beast spirits, the spirits of animals rather than humans. And he shows off how he can utilize their abilities in ways that Yo had never even considered by integrating them with objects on his body, such as the rings he wears. When Yo figures this out, though, he figures out the idea of integrating Amidamaru into Harasame, which only makes sense, let's be honest. Um, as Silva put it, you have to integrate them with something that kind of describes them, something that is inherently linked to them. And a samurai spirit is within their sword. It is the, like, just purest symbol of what makes a samurai. So it makes sense to integrate Amidamaru into the Harasame. And it gives the Oversoul ability, which I definitely remember from the original. We don't really get to see it too much in action in this one. We just see him deflect an attack, basically. But from what I remember, that does get more use later on. So I'm very excited to see that make a return. Silva, he's just really cool. He has this cool demeanor. He's very smart. He knows how to teach this knowledge to others. And at the same time, he's here to test Yo, but at the same time, he's helping him along. He's not like this kind of uh, selection committee type of people you see in some shows or anime or whatever, who are basically just kind of assholes. And it's like, oh, you have to beat me to qualify or whatever, but I'm not going to tell you how or going to give you any kind of hints or anything. I'm basically going to give you every disadvantage I can. You have to figure it out on your own. And for some shows and stuff, like that kind of thing works. But I think it also works here to have Silva giving him a little bit of help. We get to see the different abilities of his beast spirits, such as the turtle being able to act as a shield, and the silver wing, the eagle, being able to act as literal wings, allowing Silva to fly. Um, it's really cool seeing how he integrates multiple spirits as well, because we haven't really seen much of that in this series yet, especially like full integration like this. So it's really cool to see how that is implemented here. We also get a few other little things within this episode, such as the fact that Wooden Sword Ryu is now trying to kind of serve and work with Yo and them after what happened. And it's just so casual how he mentions that he can see a Mitamaru and everything, and it's like that. It's really funny how casual it is. But he's just trying to help. He's trying to become a shaman because his powers have awakened, but he has yet to truly become a shaman. So it seems like he's not getting Tokugero just yet. It seems like that's going to happen at some point continuing forward. I don't remember exactly how it was in the original anime, or I guess the manga. I don't even know how far I got in the manga. I must have read probably the early stuff. Um, I don't remember exactly how it went though, so I guess we'll see when he gets Tokugero as his shaman as his spirit partner. Um, but yeah, with the shaman fight on the horizon, we're definitely gonna start getting, I guess you could say, more serious with the series and integrating in all these new characters and spirits and whatnot, and just abilities as well. So I'm very excited to see that. This is doing things in a very good way. I really like how this second adaptation of the series is handling it all. Um, and I think like each episode kind of feels like a Shaman of the Week episode. Like this episode, um, we get Tao Ren. This episode, we get Tao June. This episode, we get Ryu. This episode, we get Silva. And it's like each episode we get like a Shaman of the Week kind of thing, but each episode is also directly connected to each other. They have full integration with each other in a way. Like, yeah, they're kind of like this Shaman of the Week story. Each week we have a different shaman, but at the same time, all of them connect in terms of the events going on. Or even just the characters connect, such as with Ren and June being siblings. Um, but it all also builds on this main story, this main issue with the Shaman King and the Great Spirit and all. So it's like it all has an underlying theme. It all has a continuing narrative that it's spreading, while also giving us a different new character to get excited about every week. I like that it does both. Not too many series do both. um, and especially do both so well. So I really am enjoying this. Um, Silva was just as cool as I remember, if not cooler. I liked seeing his spirits in action, like seeing kind of a point of the extent of where he can go with that, with the totem pole blast and all. And it's just, I really can't wait to see what we got in store with Horo Horo next week and everyone else to come in the future. So, in the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Shaman King 2021, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See you all next time.